and foremost, holiday challenge. How do you like the holiday challenge? Because I do see a lot of people taking some amazing action in that, and someone, all of you here actually are doing probably so far. Probably Amis and Claudia would be the one that did all the posts, which is actually pretty good. But I do wanted to go inside and actually show you a little bit that one as well. Why am I not seeing the screen of the group? Some of you are going to watch the replay anyway, and again, we do have to do it this way. Lamis, you're doing a very good post, and the one thing, and I wanted to reinforce already the post that needs to get done. As you see here, most of you are doing what is needed. So obviously there is the binge, or let's say food episode that happens throughout the holidays. So then of course there is the metrics part. You want to be taking your metrics. Like, this is a well done post from Lamis, and I wanted to share it with everybody because you're supposed to have done, let's say, 3 times, like before Christmas. Now there is after Christmas, and then you can do it after the New Year's again. Katya, don't be totally lost. It's like, this is a challenge we do on top of it. It's a little bit late to jump in, but you can look at all the material and learn and still look for the next challenges. All the things I'm tagging you in is from the past holiday challenge, the one that I'm not going live right now. And I see here a lot of well done posts, estimating the food, having an idea of what you're doing. Like I said, you see, I'm trying to jump in and giving you, for example, like the raclette can be something that, when not properly assessed, it can be the difference maker, right? But then I see people like moving. I see people like, again, being very aware of what you're doing throughout the holiday period. And again, going from the tracking part of the food to not tracking is going to be the next step. Now we kind of track on the holiday part, and then we jump off as well. But with this being said, I want to talk about self-sabotage and basically mind traps. There is a talk in my YouTube that I've done. First time, this is not the first time I'm doing it. It's been, I think now, been probably in 2018 or 17 or something like that. I can, if you want, I can just go back and kind of like put that inside the chat if you want to see it again, or you can just go on the YouTube and just go back into all the past videos. You can check it out just to see. Obviously, it's not going to sound the same. You know, like there used to be many different people inside the program as well. So if you want to always learn about this topic, is quite interesting. But I wanted to show it to you firsthand, and I don't know why this is happening again, but basically, this is what we're looking at. I want to share my screen. We're gonna kind of like go through this, and this is basically,
if you struggle with self-confidence issues, lack of self-control, procrastination, overeating, and laziness, then keep watching.
What the chimp paradox is about. Yeah, this is from Steven Peters. You can also, I'm copying this inside the chat. I'm gonna go through some piece of it. I'm not gonna go through all the 4 minutes with this, but I'm copying this in the chat. If you want to look at this thing, scientific part on your own, you can go ahead and do it. But basically, we'll go through it a little bit together. But basically, like, this is what this is about.
What you need to know is that there are 2 separate entities in your head, a chimp and a human. The chimp is there to help you survive, whilst the human is there to help you thrive. However, there are 2 problems. The first problem is that the chimp's only goal is to keep you and your genes going. It is suited for survival in the wild. And the second bigger problem is that we no longer live in the wild. It's also important to remember that there is a computer in your head as well. The computer is basically your habits, and if you program it properly, it will bypass the chimp and go into an automatic response you don't have to think about. But how do you control your chimp? Have you ever had one of those thoughts that you just can't get out of your head? For me, I used to always worry that I was about to die. For other people, it might be that their spouse is cheating on them, or how bad they want to eat a Krispy Kreme. No matter how hard you try, you just can't seem to stop the thought going on and on in your head. But there are 2 ways you can fix it. You can either distract your chimp or box it. So how do you distract the chimp? Well, if you're constantly thinking about food, you could distract yourself by giving your chimp an important task to do. Likewise, if you were worried about dying like I used to be, you'd give it a task to do. And if you were worried about your spouse cheating, Once again, just give it a task. For example, you could plan the rest of your day or think about what you're going to do for a workout later. You could plan a trip on the weekend. There are so many things you can do. But sometimes, this understand what the chimp is saying may not make sense, but it needs to be said.
How you're
What
not your
things you can learn
feelings,
from this book.
how the vectors for.
Because
So basically, this is
if you
a.
set a goal and don't reach it, you'll feel disappointed with yourself. But there's a way you can avoid this disappointment. And that's by setting a goal that isn't controlled by external factors. For example, you could set a goal of getting a job, but there's no guarantee you're going to get it. However, what if you change your goals to reading up on the job, learning new techniques, and how to act with power? If you don't get the job, you can still be happy because you've achieved your.
All right, so I turn it off directly because I really want you to kind of like watch it on your own if you feel like you need. Because again, this is kind of like the shame paradox. And again, we spoke about it in several videos. In our brain, we have an instinctive part of the brain, which is the one that says you eat, you should get this donuts, even though it's not smart. Then, there is this rationale part, and then there is this the human part, meaning like we do tend to have some operational system, meaning like the computer, meaning like we have an operational system. Because today we're talking about self-sabotage more so than just using that video to say it's not really about emotional eating. It's more about self-sabotaging. It's about us not achieving the results we want to achieve and kind of like limit those things. And again, it works the same way. I'm just not gonna say that the way that this guy say to do it is the proper way. That's not according to my experience. Meaning like either to box it or to boss it or to kind of like move away from that. It's not as simple as it sounds, but it's totally the same thing. We have an operational system, which like is a computer. Then there is the instinct part, which is like the chimpanzee or whatever. And then there is the human, which is the judgment part. Usually this is how self-sabotage works. And it's important that we do go into understanding self-sabotage because this is kind of like why we found ourselves in this kind of like situation, right? The issue that the computer, which is much more faster than the human, but not much more slower than the instinct part, is that most of us do not choose the computer. The operational system or the operating system, we do not choose that. We are basically told from other things, such as society, such as other people, especially like very early on from our parents, from our relatives, from people very close to us. And usually, obviously that operating system is usually not the best, right? That operating system reinforce things such as belief, such as, you can do something or you cannot do something, or you are wealthy or you are not wealthy, or you're broke or poor, or like you are easy that you can do something, losing weight or not losing weight, or self-esteem, I think I'm worth a lot or I think I'm worth nothing. Those things are instilled from society or from other people. You saw whatever you believe are at the moment, you have seen this from something, right? Something you got it from somewhere, whether it's somewhere that you very close to or somewhere that you watch. So it's important that you choose the right source of information and especially the right source of people around you. Because, and this is kind of like the next step. It's like, if we choose the operating system that is not the right one, then everything is going to run badly, slower, not good, and so forth. And then we tend to go with the instinct of making the choices or not making choices at all, rather than make decisions. And then we're kind of judgmental about it, meaning like, okay, I shouldn't have eaten that. Now I'm failing because I hate it and I'm gonna stop. Now a lot of people here in the holiday. I'm gonna get started after the holiday because I think that I cannot be ready before the holiday. That's some sort of like thing that is being instilled to you, that you need to be a perfectionist, that you cannot start getting in shape before or after. You need to wait until after the holiday, right? That's not a fact. That's something. When you have an operating system that keeps you in a certain way, that keeps you very limited, that keeps you poor, that keeps you very risk averse, that keeps you kind of like in a way that you feel like you cannot do anything, right? You need to change the operating system. The issue is that it's very hard to do. Why is it hard? It's because you have to, and I found a very good analogy about it. It's like when you are, unless you are, and by the way, maybe you say, oh, but I have a Google operating system. Well, if you're not where you need to be in your relationship, in your health, in your wealth, into everything, chances are it can be upgraded. Or the very least, it can be upgraded if not completely changed. The problem is that much like we used to have the analogical world before the digital world. The first very few computer, first very whole computer, some of you might remember. I remember, like you had, the phone that had to dial to go to the internet, and it was like, dude, like this thing, and took forever to get in, and then you couldn't now open multiple things at a time, like you have to go one or the other. And when you have an upgrade or you need to reinstall something, you needed to deinstall the other one, and then you need to put a new operating system in. That also with the few iPhones. Remember what was the problem about that? Is that every single time it took so long, few hours, and it's like you need to reinstall the other one. It takes maybe a few hours. Then you need to install the new one, and then the computer did all this work by itself, and you had to go to sleep because like it took hours, and then you had to wake up in the middle of the night to kind of make sure that, okay, now it's installed. That this is basically the same way you install your operating system when it comes to your habit, when it comes to your belief, when it becomes to your mindset and so forth. The only problem, you know what it is? It doesn't take hours. It takes days, if not months, right? And unless you're a daughter of, Andre Agassi or Steffi Graf, you are not automatically programmed to success because it's so easy to see. Like, unless you're one of those outliers, and I do know a few personally, like from my time I was in US, and I see them now. For example, if somebody is very, like I do have a good friend of mine, is an actor, and he has a mortgage company, and he just had a kid. You can see in his Facebook and in Instagram how is he programming the kid. It's like he's like, okay, forced to walk by yourself. Okay, we're talking about reading now. We're gonna do like that's a person that is programmed from very, very early, 1 year old, technically to succeed. It's still a choice he's gonna have to succeed or not. But for the most part, and this is out of not judgment, but out of logic, and that includes me by myself, by the way, if you are not where you need to be, and if you have self-esteem issue, and if you're always have a lot of wording going on in your mind, and if you do commit self-sabotage, then you were not programmed that way. Is either you were not programmed from the beginning, or you adopted some sort of like behavior afterwards in life, which can be trauma, which can be something happening to you, some condition, some hormonal stuff going on. It can be a bunch of stuff, right? We know that motivation is often on the gut. That study shows that, which is crazy because it's like means like if you have some gut issue, then motivation is also can be taken over from that. And again, if you do that all the time, then you adopt a new operating system. But now, if you're not where you need to be, the operating system needs to change. And this is kind of like the first thing. It's going to be uncomfortable. And of course, it's going to be something that needs to get done, right? But now I'm going to do a few examples about society. And I'm going to use an example everybody's very familiar with because I hear this all the time, whether you do it with, whether you have it on your mind or not. Like I see this all the time. People struggling, with wealth, with money, with being, and I always say there is a difference between being poor and between being broke. Broke, you can be so many times. Poor is a state of mind. Poor, you choose to be poor. It's like saying, it's like that person that says, I cannot afford this despite whatever, right? But if I put a gun in your son or somebody's face and I say, in 1 week, you're gonna find a way to get this done because you're gonna save his life. I see Coach Dori also come here. Welcome. Where are you, Dory? You're in the airport, like you're flying, or you look like you're in the station somewhere. But anyway, it's a state of mind being poor, and I see so many people that talk in real talk, and honestly, we don't know them personally, but like I'm only assuming that they're saying the truth because they can use the card of being poor once, and it's like, oh, I'm a millionaire, but I was poor when I was young. Like that's what they say. But if you go back and you look at the bio, sometimes it's actually true. And that means like somebody can become resourceful. And one thing that the society does to us, right, especially in this side of the world, like I'm saying, like this in Switzerland, they program you always from being like fearful somehow, um, sick, fearful, broke. And obviously, look at all the movies. Look at all the movies, right? Like you have super, especially the superhero movie. Spider-Man is always like a orphan kid. Who is Spider-Man arch enemy, right? Oh, Superman, sorry. Lex Luthor, right? Lex Luthor is a billionaire, right? And you see this all the time. Like, take, for example, and then you're going to say, okay, Batman is rich, right? Batman is rich. But Batman doesn't have a superpower, for example, right? So it's like there is always this like you being conditioned. They always like, okay, the wealth is evil, and obviously poverty is good, and it's like you condition to believe something like that. I see it on my mom and everything, like the way they think, being nice and everything, but they always feel that way. Society will always try to get you on the short end of the stick. So it's like saying like whatever operating system you have, you need to kind of want to change it. If you are in a side of the world, I used to be in US and it's a very capitalist country, and then you are in Europe, which is a very, like, especially here, like you have socialism and you have some places you have communism and so forth. You see this all the time. And again, this is not about politics, whatever you prefer, but it's about this thing that if you want to achieve anything in life, you need to count on your power, on your own power. And then it's like you need to understand that you are in control of those things. But if you're in control, then you need to understand, planning, habits, all these things that you are in control of, and not feel as if there is some sort of thing controlling you. And we see this all the time in my program. I hear it. Oh, I feel my hormone are not allowing me for me to get in shape. Oh, I feel like I have menopause now. Now it's gonna slow me down. I have insulin resistance. Okay, it's like, okay, but you can still do so many things on it. You can still have something that you're in control of. And this is starting from operating system. And one thing that really goes with it, and I'm gonna give you, as always in this mindset call, because again, it's like one thing I do appreciate a lot of you saying the importance of, even if they watch a replay, the importance of this mindset call, because not only they give me momentum, but they also give me a how do you say, perception of like a different world view. And it's like now I can operate this way. And I can only like give you like what, in my opinion, I would do. And then like you can start to apply it. And today I'm going to give you a small little task afterwards of you going in. Because the challenge I said, the holiday challenge was not going to be something that makes you feel good, and also not something that's going to give you a lot of information you cannot apply, but something that you're going to do the work with. And today is going to be the same, something that you have to do the work with, okay? Now, the first thing I want to talk about, like self-sabotage, and again, this is very different than the first talk I have. So if you want to like watch that, there are going to be some things you heard, but not so many things, is the message that you carry with yourself and you believe on. I'm going to make an example about that. I don't have it with me because I'm not in US anymore. But if you take the $100 bill and if you take one penny, whatever that penny is made of, the source is more valuable than the paper that the $100 bills is printed on. And this is crazy because now if you take what you can do with a $100 bill, and I'm assuming the same thing with a euro, and you take the cent, now you have, it's like 1,000 times more. You basically have 1,000 more power with the bill that you have on the cent. But isn't it crazy that if we come down to the ground, it would be like, okay, this is worth more. And it's because the message the money carries. the message that $100 beer carries is 1,000 times more powerful. Why? Because somebody decided to attach that word to it. And therefore, this should make you sometimes think, and it's like, whatever the message that you carry, according to who gives you the message, supposed to be quite important to you. So you bet, like one more time, you better hear messages from sources that you believe are true. And you always should feel like, hear the message and say, okay, I'm hearing now, and I'm going to use a few examples about dieting, right? Like I'm here that, okay, low carb or keto is quite good for lowering certain type of things. Like, I don't know, epilepsy, there are study about it. And then this is one way to hear a message. Then there are things it's like, oh, low carb, control your sugar better, and it makes me lose weight faster. And maybe you go and watch a presentation from some random person, and it sounds very good. Yet, the message that carries is going to be what determines whether or not it's going to happen to you. So what happens is that the person, and again, this is not a suggestion from anybody inside the program or people watching in the group and saying, go out and test it, but chances are you tested this 100 times if you're here, like with so many different things, intermittent fasting, Weight Watchers, and all that stuff, right? Anytime you find a source, you're supposed to look at all the research about it from real places like PubMed, like real research, not something that you can just hear on Instagram, right? And then you should actually test it, but test it for you. Not 1 week, maybe a few months. And then say, okay, is that something that makes sense to me? Yes or no? Because otherwise, you're always going to feel like, oh, I'm testing it for a week, and then you're going to be like, okay, now it doesn't work. I'm stopping it. See, I knew I cannot achieve the result. This is kind of like you committing self-sabotage to yourself, because then you go to something different. And it's always the same thing. It's like a wheel that goes on and on and on and on. Now, I'm going to make another example. She's not here right now, but there is one lady, and again, for her present, I'm just going to say that she travels, and she's going to see this because we talked the other week. She travels about 300 days in a year, and probably she's really one of the few only really busy people we can say, because traveling 300 or plus days inside a year, and it's really hard to always be committed to your nutrition. I do understand that. And she said stress level were very high, and she said, when she talks, it's like, hey, I'm adopting some intermittent fasting, and I think like, I think it's working for me, because not only is the body composition changing, but also I go to the restroom better, I can sleep better. And despite that being the case, for whatever reason, this is working, right? So that's a really good, well-tested assessment to say, okay, this is a fact for me now. It's factual that if you have better sleep, you can have your hormone rebalanced, and at least momentarily, this is working. And I said, we need to get into a little bit deeper. If you're gonna do that, I need to send you a few sources about it, because obviously for 99% of the women over 40, intermittent fasting is not the way to go. But if that's gonna be your spiking wheel so that we can get you better sleep and get somehow to the next step, this is actually the way to go, right? And again, this is just an example. But we didn't go and say, okay, I just heard some amazing webinar about intermittent fasting, I should just do it. Because usually, otherwise, you don't have the right message. Like you don't carry the right message. The second thing I want to talk about that is what to do when something is basically misunderstood, right? It's like you always need to look into understand where it comes from, the message itself, and what to do when something is again, you realize that it's not for you, even though you might have said to yourself or to other people, this is kind of like my belief. You basically need not to be analytical about it and just cut it out. Cut this thing out from your wording and to your behavior. Wordings, and the wording is quite important. That I made the whole reel about it, right? I said so many times in these kind of calls, you should really word things right in your brain, because, I mean, your brain doesn't know the difference between what you say to what you actually do. I'm sorry, I said it many times. You should cut this word out to your vocabulary. If it's not something that you really have killed somebody, like you should not be like constantly talking about that, because that reinforces you, you know, like if you don't really mean, and it's not like, I know that whoever said that mean it, but it's like, it's not necessary at times, unless you completely do everything wrong every single day. It's just gonna reinforce a negative connotation to yourself. When you say, for example, should, in self-sabotage, you should not use should all the time. For example, I should go to the gym. You should actually use could go to the gym instead, because could give you the option to go or not to go. Should is like saying I should go to the gym because if I don't go, or I should eat this way because, or I shouldn't eat that, because whenever that happens, and it will happen because you're human, we're all human, then you're gonna attach a negative connotation to it again. Okay, so the wording about that is quite important as well. Same thing. The last one, this is just again, few example, must. Must, while it's very useful in other connotation, in other things, when you say I must do something and you're somebody that creates self-sabotage, you should use might instead. Or may or might. Why? Because must is like, again, is an absolute, and you not doing something, and since you're an absolute, then you probably are also very perfectionism oriented, and then you're gonna always feel negative around it. And then it's better to say, I may do this or I may not. It's basically the opposite to when you are somebody convinced. But when you're convinced, you're not a perfectionist, you just do. I just had an argument with somebody that, like, last week when we went to the Christmas Eve, and this guy is I really feel like is you know, is like somebody that always talk but never do. So if you're somebody that always talk but never do, you do commit sabotage, because it's like you only talk. If you're somebody that do and you're not afraid to make mistakes, then you want to go, I will do this. I must do this. Because again, this is kind of like the opposite. But if you know that you're doing self-sabotage, and I want to say for me, I think I shifted to in the past to do it a little bit, to not do it at all now, because I'm willing to make so many mistakes rather than just think it over and think again and whatever. So it's kind of like the opposite. But if you do self-sabotage, it's kind of important you use the right wording, because otherwise it will happen again. The other thing that I like you to kind of like I wanted to discuss, not look to what is next, but look to what is in front of you. We did talk in a call as well, the law of the harvest, right? When you harvest, and this can be applied to everything in life, business, fitness, anything. The law of the harvest is like, you need to have a seed, you need to plant the seed, you need to harvest the ground, you need to plant the seed, you need to water the seed, and then you need to kind of like do this over and over again until the seed grows up and until you give the fruit. And you can give the fruit after 6 months or a year. Same thing like when you, in this context, if you're always thinking about, oh, I just done this, I done it kind of in a way, but now I'm gonna look for the next thing in front of me. So whatever I can do next, this is kind of like you're not enjoying the moment, you're not focusing on the moment, and therefore now you kind of like have tendency to commit self-sabotage. And that takes me to kind of like the next one, which is the big rocks. You want to be focusing on the things that are the most success driven, or that move the needles the most into your life, into your career, into your health, and so forth. In the health, it is not the macros, the thing that moves the needle the most. It is the planning of how am I gonna eating, when am I gonna work out, how much step am I gonna be taking, is the execution on the plan, and is the ability to operate on optimizing the plan. Okay, I'm taking my measurements, I'm doing whatever I'm supposed to do according to whatever strategy we discussed with the coach, and then in 10 days, 15 days, I'm gonna actually check if this produces real results. Not facts, not feelings, only facts. I'm not saying, oh, I think I gained 1 kilo. And this is why I'm having you do all these metrics in between the challenge, because it's like when we actually do the scale post, the last post that you're gonna get the scale after the New Year's, the scale is gonna say something, but the metrics, the measurements may say something different. And then is the good thing and say, oh, this is just water, right? I have the facts to say that. And guess what's gonna happen afterwards? You're not gonna emotionally attach the emotion to the negative connotation of the weight, which is, this is very powerful. And I'm gonna see all your posts and I'm gonna read through all of those. And again, there will be somebody winning the 250 euro, because it's like somebody deserve this prize that went through all this process. Okay, very cool. The last one is some X, but I feel like we talked about this so many times, but it's just like I'm just using this, how I'm making an example about self-sabotage. And I'm going to use again with emotional healing, because I see more and more people struggle with this, whether it's a hormonal backlash or whether it's something that the physiology is asking for it. But when you are emotional eating, there is usually three scenarios, or better say, it's like few reasons. You need to check first your physiology. Am I eating enough? Am I eating my number of calories, right? Because again, if you don't do these things, then you're going to just self-sabotage, and you're going to go from, oh, I'm going to restrict now, then I'm going to overeat, and then I'm going to start on Monday, and then that's kind of like self-sabotage. But you have to check a few things. Number one, check, okay, I ate enough today. I had breakfast. I didn't wait for all my calorie to be put on in the evening. Like we have just here, Katya was just talking to her about it. It's like when you eat early dinner, because you have a job that, let's say you eat at 5 or 4, and then you're not eating until 9, chances are it is physiological. So you don't really have a psychological emotional eating problem. It's more physiological. So we need small little tricks, stuff we can take in the work, like some nuts, some bars, some protein bars, water to be constantly around us all the time, that we can get some sip into kind of filling up until that you get home, so that you don't have to hit the whole counter when you get home, right? But when you instead feel, okay, it's more psychological and I still don't know what to do, then it's about getting inside your calorie count for, let's say, the day or the week. And we do that by adopting, and we'll put up this one again for the people, mostly the people that are not inside the program, because I really feel like there is value in this, and I really would love people start using this stuff inside the group. Here, inside the guides, inside the fixture, I just inside the feature is like, we talked about emotional eating, pretty much the same thing I'm saying now, but this is kind of like the recipe that I made. There is a video about making recipes and so forth. And then inside the guides, you have tons of stuff that you can cook. That's kind of like goes towards the things that we like to eat: pasta, rice, sweet stuff, pancakes, my favorite pizzas, that is like, you can do the high French toast, protein French toast. Eating any of these things is basically kind of like eating less calorie, but still giving the brain what it needs. In this kind like we kind of like hacking the brain a little bit, because we're not really hungry. It's more so we need to feed the sweet part. We need to see the salty. We need to give the brain what it needs. But then one day, whenever you realize that you ate enough and you have, let's say you ate whatever you're supposed to eat, then somebody gives to you these donuts or this dessert, and you're like, oh, I know I shouldn't be eating those, but I'm going to eat it anyway. Yeah, that's kind of like the self-sabotage part. And it's not easy. I'm not saying like you're supposed to say anything. I just said like this needs to be a conversation you have with yourself, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The right way to do it, to make the work on it, is like you watch the donuts, and then you're like, there is benefit of eating it, and there is benefit not to eat it. The benefit to eat it is gonna be a lot less than the one to not to eat it. Benefit of eating is like dopamine. It's like, okay, I'm gonna be happy for 5 minutes, only to be sad after 10. The benefit of not eating it, I'm gonna not retain water, I'm gonna sleep better, my cortisol gonna be lower, and all that's like, there's so many things. So you need to stretch that thing out. You need to kind of make this conversation. The goal is not to eat the cookie or whatever, is to make this conversation longer. To, in one day, being in control of your thoughts. And again, it's a whole process. We know we have to, first and foremost, understand this is happening. So there is meditation going into first, into see your thinking, because sometimes I'm in front of the cookie, I don't think about it and just eat it. So if you're not mindful on the moment, this is very hard to do. But when you realize that you are mindful, and then it's about, okay, I see my thought, I need to sit with my emotion and feel that cravings and kind of say, I'm going to work on this today. And the easiest way is obviously not to keep this thing in the house, but if you have them in the house, then you need to do the work with it if you want. Because it's better to just not, it's better from what I used to do when like what I do, if I don't want this to happen, I basically don't keep them. And then whenever I feel like it, like now, for example, if I feel like going somewhere, I'm going to have to count, let's say until 10 or 20, and then do some other things in my mind. It's like, it's like boxing the chimp a little bit. And then you're like, if this doesn't go away, then it's just better that you just go and buy it, because otherwise you're just going to say, okay, I'm not going to eat the chips because I'm going to eat something similar, like rice cakes with something salty on top with some salmon. And then you're going to eat a lot of things before, and then you're still going to eat the chips. And sometimes you just need it. It's just something that your brain requires. But you do need to understand how to work on it, okay? And again, the easiest way is, the hacks is like, cook something similar, a lot less calorie, and then the next step is like, do some work with it. Before we do in everything, before I'm going in Q&A now, I'm gonna draw the wheels of name, and I'm gonna show one last time the winner, what they're winning, the cookies, because I know that it was the, in fact, I'm gonna draw two names. In fact, I'm gonna draw three names in case, okay? One is gonna be, I'm gonna make two packages, and then two are gonna win it, and somebody, let's say, that doesn't want it or whatever, is gonna be, you can let me know, and I'm gonna give it to the third person, okay? Let me show you what my Christmas sometimes look like, and this is why it's important. This is basically what you're winning, one of you, these cookies, okay? So whoever wins this today, and it was in the first call last time, have the chance to win it, okay? I'm gonna make the wheel now, and whoever wins this, then I don't believe it. Oh my God, oh my God. I'm gonna have to, that's crazy. I'm gonna have to do it. Well, the tab that was open with the wheel of name, it just got canceled, and now I cannot just create another. I'm gonna have to do one, and then tomorrow I'm gonna draw it inside the group, and I'm gonna tag everybody. It's much easier. That sucks. I wanted to do it here live, but I'm gonna have to do it this way, because thanks to that video that was going on before, now we kind of lost the other one too. Okay, no big deal. I'm gonna draw it tomorrow, and then I'm gonna put it inside the group. And I do need to make a note about it though, otherwise I know I'm gonna forget. Anyway, hopefully this was good. Any question about the challenge? Any question about anything? Let me know. You can unmute now. We can talk about anything or everything. We do have sometimes. Go ahead, unmute. If you need anything about self-sabotage, we can go into it right away. If you just need to talk about the challenge or ask questions, we can also do that. We have some more time. Any question, let's go. Because we do have some time, but not unlimited. Any question? Come on, guys. You really can ask about anything if you want. I don't think it was that perfect. Come on, you can ask questions. You don't have anything to ask, anything to share? Relatively a small group today, but good. Namis, wanna talk?
Yeah, I just wanted to, because when you were saying that we should omit some words from our dictionary, like saying should or must, I remembered when I was having a call with Dory, and then we were going, like planning what to do next week. And then I was telling her, no, I must eat this. I should go to the gym twice a week. I must do this. I should do that. And then like there was like a question mark on her face, and I was thinking, Dory, what's wrong? And then she said, I'm not sure you'll be able to do all that, because don't just say I should or I must, just say I want to do that, I would like to do that, I will do that. And then yeah, that's why now whenever my mind goes to these words, I remember Dory, and like I remember now what you were saying. So yeah, thanks to both of you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, wording is important. We see this all the time in so many fields, but it's good. I just saw the comment. I will do that wheel again, but it does take quite a while. Like we do have, it's like 10 people at least. I'm gonna include your name as well. Like you are here now, Katya. So that's even though you were not in the last one, I'll include it now. I do appreciate people that come live to this call, actually, like you know, but at least the one that were here also last time is gonna be included. All right, so if you don't have anything else, or let's see, do you have anything, Claudia? Go ahead.
Maybe a stupid question. How to train me to eat less again?
Again?
Like after a few days of having too much, how to train me to eat less again, because I don't understand, but I'm
Hungry.
hungry, yes.
Yes.
And I shouldn't be.
No, the problem is that you should be, and that's a huge problem actually, because every time that you do that for an extensive period of time, you are impacting leptin, and in fact, it's not a stupid question at all. It's very smart. In fact, it's something that that a lot of people don't understand, but it's something that now let me just see if I can pull up the chart. You're impacting your hormone for real, and it's I'll tell you what to do, but basically it's not that intuitive. But why is happening? Because you were restricting for a while, mostly out of your output, mostly because of you were doing a lot more activity than you were eating. And whenever you go out and eat that way, like I saw you did have a few good meals, especially on the quantity, not so much on it's not like whatever you're eating is okay. But this is what happened, right? It's a chart of leptin. This is the hypothalamus. And every single time you have food intake, you store it as fat, especially if it comes from fat, okay? You can either get more of these bubbles, that is going to be hyperplasia, or then you can get like only the same number of bubbles, but they get small and big, right? So now obviously we don't know if yours got big or they multiplied, but what happens is that every single time you get more food intake, then all these things changes, blood pressure, parasympathetic nerve, energy expenditure, and all that stuff. And your body, remember when I said, if you keep eating less, the energy that you're eating goes to prioritize your brain, your lungs, your heart, and all that stuff, vital things. Remember what I say this all the time.
Right.
And then we cannot take whatever your body should do with taking all the excess from your fat cells. It doesn't happen, right? So many people, for some weird reason, say, oh, remember when I say do refeeds? Like you can be good during the week and you can do a refeed on the weekend. And technically, when you have a very low fat percentage, it seems like it's doing something to your metabolism because you feel full on your muscle. You see muscle very vascular and everything. You see yourself a better shape, but it's not happening anything to your metabolism. This one that you're experiencing is a real metabolic shift. Anytime you go over 48 hours of overfeeding, the leptin changes, leptin goes up, down, ghrelin go up, and therefore like the hunger goes up as well. Okay? So basically you're having a backlash like this one. So you're losing weight, and then instead of like, you can gain weight like this up, you can gain weight a bit more slower, or you can obviously gain weight less. You need to do your best to gain, not to gain weight. This is what we go do your post afterward and see how much you're gaining and so forth. The best way, you need to control the hunger. Meaning, if you cannot stop eating, or you are you see this in bodybuilders all the time, they have binge eating tendency afterwards. They feel these cravings. When you take medicine, antibiotic, I used to take not long ago, I felt the same thing because they change your physiology. They really make you hungry. Some people, I mean, some medicine. What happens is you need to kind of control the hunger in the same way, if it makes sense. The strategy I just highlighted now several times is like either get low calorie, high dense volume food is the same strategy you need to use. Meaning, now the first step you need to do is go from the palatable food, a lot of palatable food, to a lot of food that is a little bit more healthy. Yeah, so it's like instead of eating cakes, you go now and eat a lot of like fruits and vegetable cooked in a certain way. Yeah, then you can also do, for example, the recipe I showed you before, the souffle. You can do something like a souffle. You can do some pizza. You can do those things, the food, but you can do those things, but you're gonna, like, those things are less in calorie, but it's still a lot of food. So basically, it's still a lot of food, but the calorie go from here to here. You can also, that's a good time for you to actually do some more exercise or some more movement if you want to walk a little bit more. That's kind of like the way you kind of compensate it.
It was more the other way around, because I was working out yesterday and today, and I was not really hungry until I got dizzy.
Yeah,
then I realized that it's like, oh,
but you're still compensating that. Like, I think you already compensated. So we'll see your post at the end, but I think like you're going to be not have gained a bunch of weight or anything like that. But the one thing for sure, that what happening to you, the hunger, might be real, because like I saw that you're posting a lot of food and everything, very palatable food. So you need to kind of move back this way. This is how you move back. You eat from the sweets to a lot of food, but high volume food. So awareness about the food. For those of you that have the website, all of you go inside the foundation part, like the food acceleration part, and then you just go and look awareness. You look the cravings part, how to control the cravings, and so forth. And then you move back to everything else that you were doing. So the strategy was, let's say you were more so tracking food, you move back to that. Let's say you have meal plans, you move back to that. If you're intuitively eating, you move back to that. So you do need to move in steps. You cannot just go from eating so many good stuff to moving back and not eating anything anymore. In fact, there will be more steps, but we made it simple. This, by the way, I think it was Mike Israetel, which is a very good physiologist. He has like, I think 5 different steps, but the more complex it becomes, then you're not going to do it. So it needs to be quite simple. I found that going from palatable food to a lot of volume food for good recipes, and then going back to whatever strategy got you there in the first place, it's a good thing. But again, don't over-exercise either, because it sounds like now it really sounds like you're beating up your body in a way. Like you always go from working out too much, or like, again, it needs to be progressive. Don't overdo it. And again, don't feel like, likewise, don't feel like now that you ate so many things. I think I tagged everybody inside the yesterday video, which is an exercise video. If you haven't watched that, watch it again, because again, it talks about that as well. It's like you don't want ever to feel like you're doing too much or too little. Either of this is wrong, meaning like the mentality associated with that is kind of like the problem. You never want to feel that way, like you either, if you done too much, if you ate too much, then you'd feel like you have to eat too much more of the things that you ate. If you ate 10,000 calories, you need to go every 30,000 steps every day. That's the wrong mentality to have. You need to go back slowly. Like I said, you do something the day after, but then the day after, then you just go back to the normal routine. So that's what, remember when I said not how to not gain weight. If you were to eat 12,000 calories 3 days in a row, then yes, you do need to make some compensation the day after, but after a few days, you need to go back to normal. Otherwise, if you keep compensating, you will not resist on those things. But that was a very good point, in fact. I know that this happens multiple times to a lot of people. Anything else? No?
No. Can I ask a question, Jerry?
Sure, sure.
Well, I really had a great day with my family, and they don't eat a lot, so my calories were okay. I didn't put it in yet because my Wi-Fi in my holiday cabin was really bad, so I couldn't post. Came home today, so I'll post tomorrow. For me, I really need help. Tomorrow we have a meeting, and I really need help with the planning. I don't know how the do it, but I'm really, well, my kids go to my ex this Saturday, and I'm really anxious because I'm worried that I can't keep it up in my planning. Maybe it's because my planning, I don't have, and I didn't plan anything, but I'm really anxious, and I want to do the challenge, okay, but also for me, I'm really happy with the days I had with the Christmas. I didn't overeat, but I did take a wine, and I did, but I also was running with my son and my sister-in-law, so I really moved a lot. So I did compensate the days, but I'm really anxious. I don't know how to plan the next week, and
you mean
I really
planning for now the holidays or planning in general?
The holiday. It's not with when I'm working. It's really easy because you have a structure. But when I have a week off and there are no kids, I don't have a structure, and that's really when I'm failing. It's really hard.
Now you're already doing self-sabotage because you're talking about failing, but that's one thing. Well, just you have a week off, right? So what are you afraid of? What do you think you're gonna make mistakes on? What is the problem?
It's easy to access sweets or anything, or just I'm thinking that I should plan better with my eating. What for choices I'm making with my dishes I make, and
So what is the strategy you're using again? It's like tracking food, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have like you also have the recipes in there, or you're just using? Yeah. You have them, right? Or you don't?
Yes, I do.
Let me just pull up real quick. I just want to do something. Just want to give you some tangible things to do, because again, planning for that is relatively easy, especially now because they keep putting new recipes in, new tasty stuff in there. So let me just go to your a meal plan. No, you don't have those recipes.
I don't.
I'm talking in the app. You don't have them.
What do you mean?
I mean this one. Because I think that you were doing, you were doing My Fitness Pal and like tracking food all the time. So you don't have that.
I'm tracking it, but because I didn't have.
It was something different, because then you can, like, you're eating this, right? This is not what I'm saying. Like, this is your your parameter, your macros, right? What I'm saying, my question was to make it for you easier to have some options.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is what we do. We do this, we have 7 days, right? You can eat, if you're snacking too much, you do 3 meals, but I would say 4. I take always away soy. It's not a good thing, especially for estrogen and stuff. Is there anything you are kind of allergic to or you don't like?
No, I don't. I'm not allergic to anything.
Okay. So this is how you create this is created for you, right? But the first thing you do, you jump in here and say, let's say you don't like this one on the morning, and you can jump in here and you can either choose one of these, which is automatically like that, or if you like smoothies.
Yeah, I like smoothies.
Smoothies like that, which is easy. You can do swap, right?
Yeah.
So you plan according to what you like to eat, because this is automatically including all your calories and your macros.
Okay.
Yeah. So then it's simple. It's like, let's say that you found that this one is not good for taste or whatever. You can write whatever you want. You can snack one. You could, they had new snack in here, but you can also write something that you like. You like chicken.
Yeah.
Chicken. You see how many ways that you can do it, and also you can go from this. It tells you 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, whatever. But you could also potentially something for an hour that you have time to cook in the evening. You can make most of them are less than an hour, so it's always going to come up. But this is kind of like how to plan if you want to plan like this. And it obviously is a way. One thing about the things that you're doing, which is like using level 2 tracking food to get flexibility, then you need to have some skills into that, meaning like you still need to have some to say, I'm going to create my dish, and I know that a side of protein can be chicken, fish, whatever, is always one part of the dish. Then you choose a vegetable and you choose the carb. And then you track. But that's more flexible because as long as you can just go into to whatever you want, you can always find something. It's like you can always like find meaning like if you're scared of the sweet, then you need to factor them into your calories. It's as simple as that. But getting already some food made before, like from those recipes, that's kind of like a good quick fix for now. Meaning like you do,
Okay.
because if you eat enough food, you're not gonna be able, you're not gonna feel like you have all the time this problem. And again, as far as planning for the rest, is the same thing you plan for this. You just take a Google sheet, a Google calendar, and you just put inside. It's like, okay, I'm gonna work out these days. I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna get my food this way. And you know that in the night you are And again, now let's talking about. I'm assuming you're saying if you have an event tomorrow, you're gonna plan the event. If you have 31st, I'm assuming you're gonna do something for end year. Then let's say you have a dinner there. You wanna be light the morning of, and this one is as simple as that. But there is no, you shouldn't feel this apprehensive about doing that, because it's even like you're not gonna mess up weeks of results for only one day or two. This is unlikely. But since you've been doing good been doing good inside the holiday before, I don't see why you should be scared or really about now. I mean, it's almost over, honestly. So you yeah, it's
So
like
it's what Marike says. It's the me time you have, and it's empty, and then that's the craving. When the cravings come, I have a quick fix then for my protein bars, and I really like them, so I eat them. But yeah, I think it's psychologist by me, by
definitely
me, because but that's why I want to talk about it tomorrow, so we can have
But try also to cook those recipes that I show you. Try to cook some of those, because the sweet one is, I'm telling you, like pancakes, French toast, those things are like, I'm telling you, they're like, they make a difference. And you're eating a bunch of like protein, and it's gonna be very tasty, and it's gonna be a dessert. And then, for example, like see here Marcela walking, like the thing you can do if you feel like you mess up, you can go for a walk. It's like, it's really always about, it's constant. Like, to answer also the question of Claudia, it's about not regaining back from the beginning everything. Yeah, this is kind of like the important part. It's about gaining only a little bit back and then go back into the routine on January. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm gonna have, like, and I hope this answers. Again, one thing you can do, Astrid, you can write your plan. You can write your Google Calendar down, and you can put it inside the group, and tag the people or whatever.
Okay.
Like, that's keep you accountable to actually get it done. And also for the planning for the actual moment that they happen. First and foremost, understand this goes for the next time, because this is not a problem you fix in one time. It takes
No.
so it's like, let's say you make a mistake now, right? Let's say you do, right? So it's like, what you're gonna do, you're gonna realize what it is. If it was, let's say, a cake or a piece of what, or chocolate or whatever, you will then put a plan together, like write it down, step 1, step 2, step 3, for what you're gonna do to the next time. Yes, so it's
Okay.
like, when this happens, regardless to where I am, I'm gonna sit with my emotion until 10 seconds or 20, whatever, right? Then I'm going to do my best to not buy this thing anymore, to not keep it in the house. Or if you go somewhere else, whatever. Then next step of the plan is, I will instead have some protein with me, bars, or I will have created some, I don't know, some recipe alongside with chocolate, let's say bites or whatever, that I can take with me, right?
Yeah.
All this is like real, is facts. And like, then whatever of this thing that you just wrote down doesn't happen, you need to work on.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna work is like you saying, I don't know how to tackle it. I know I'm scared it's gonna happen, and then I'm gonna do my best next time. This is not gonna work, because this is not factual. This is just
Not changing the habit. Yeah.
it's like something that you want to do, contemplate on doing, but not something you actually take in action on. Yeah. So this is quite important. So I would say this is kind of like your task, right?
Yeah.
And I see somebody typing chocolate mousse. Yeah, there are chocolate mousse inside.
I have it with protein.
So you want to be looking into those recipes as well. I do have in fact one whole comment in that video, not in this one, in that one that says about the recipe book, because there is a link that is gonna automatically get to you for that. The other people here and the other one watching, I would like as a task for you to go live inside a group, talking about on a live video, talking about how did you commit self-sabotage, or how do you commit self-sabotage, and what is gonna be the plan you want to do about it? Meaning, like I just said to Astrid now, saying inside a group, I do, like Lami said, for example, I do always use must or may or whatever, and that, like, must or I have to or whatever, and then like that makes me feel, when I'm failing, that I feel guilty about it. And instead, my priority is gonna be to use instead of should, could, instead of must, may, and you say that, and you write it inside the, like, it's gonna be a video with, like, this is kind of like the task. If you want to do it, if you actually want to do something about the self-sabotage, I have no other framework specifically that is going to be for everybody, because it's individual, but this is kind of like what you do first. Create a real plan, stop just consuming and then feeling like this is going to make you feel good now, this call for maybe like an hour or maybe for a day, and then I'm going to go back and do what I doing before. You need to do something about it. If it's something prevalent to you, it's something you need to do something about it. And the best way to do something about it is actually go live, talk about it. Going live is better than writing, by the way, because not only because it's uncomfortable, but because you are saying something out. Not say like you're writing something is just on your mind. No, when you're saying and write, then it's bold. is on the computer of your brain, on the operating system. You saying it, so it's your instinct, whatever you feel, and also is, of course, the judgment behind it. It's going to be very hard to convince yourself that you're a failure if you say that you're not a failure in your brain. It's very hard to convince yourself that. But when you just write it, it's easy to say that because you didn't say it. So I see some good decoration there where Marcela is outside, and we do have some around here. But anyway, ladies, I'm off. I'm gonna have some food now. Wish you all an amazing holiday. I hope this was helpful. It's definitely more in depth than the first time around that I had this talk. Thanks to you, Dori. Thanks to everybody to be here. I will go live tomorrow and do the drawing and the raffle of the names for the first thing. And again, thanks again. Keep going. The challenge is you're doing very well. So far, I didn't find a lead in person. Therefore, like at this point, everybody would go inside the wheels of naming even for the final prize. I did not see extensively somebody doing better. I just saw people doing more, which is good, of course. But it would be unfair to penalize people that do less, and unless everybody did the post that they had to. So all the posts is being done correctly. So that's good enough. I just see people doing the extra mile, and again, we'll do more on that later down the line. Welcome to us new people, whoever watching this. Again, if you feel like you actually want to change for real, have a chat with me or people on my team. We need to get 2024 to be different. Hopefully not something just as usual, just some sort of like good, how do you say, New Year resolution, only to be kind of like on the same place in February. Is more so like just do really something different. All of you here understand that because you are already practicing your health, your different health. Hopefully we can motivate a little bit more people. I did talk about that in several videos. Invite people in the group, invite people in the program. Not only is it beneficial for you, potentially you get either more long on your coaching or you get even money for getting new people in. But it's quite important because we do want to get this mission to go somewhere. And again, it's very hard to battle advertisement-wise. It's very hard to battle, big titans like Weight Watchers, only for them making more damage than ever inside the population. And this is a fact. Or Optavia and all that, Ozempic and all that type of stuff. Damaging people for real. And obviously it's very hard to go against them in a way like they have so much budget on advertisement. They're going to make you believe whatever they want to believe, but it's you that you can choose who to believe still. And if you lost and gained 10 times the weight and then you're still at square one, chances are that's probably not the best way to go. More so is your behavior you need to change, strategy that you need to develop for your own kind of like person, like, you're probably over 40 and so forth. And then it's the mindset around it. And this is why we work on these calls. I can only work on this call with you. You need to do the work. You need to go live. You need to talk about it. You need to be the one exposing your vulnerability sometimes, because it does take courage, but this is kind of like where the works happen. And that means that then you're going to change. I wish you all an amazing holiday. I will make some posts inside and probably go live inside before the New Year's. Yet, those of you that have your own calls, we're going to talk. And the other one, we're going to talk very soon as well. Talk to you very soon. Coach Jerry here. And I wish you all an amazing holiday. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.